One of the core practices of our program is a Qigong practice called standing meditation. And we have three practices that we're working with. Most of us are here primarily for the martial arts practice, and so we can consider these other two to be supportive. But actually all three of them work, fine on their own, and each of the other two are supportive of any one of those three. So the Ashtanga yoga practice, the standing is part of a Qigong curriculum, and of course the martial arts practice, which is primarily based on the solo forms, the kata. The standing practice is the core practice in a Qigong practice, and it could be the only practice in a Qigong practice and be considered a full Qigong practice. There's lots more that can be done if you're interested in this approach, and we'll provide some of those resources in that playlist. With the Ashtanga thing, there's a lot of work available, but if you're doing the two sun salutations, 5 and 3, and the 3 finishing poses, that's considered a complete practice. In the world of karate, if you're doing 3 sanshins a day, that's a complete practice. So with the standing, we're starting off with a straight foot position, even, very much like the closed gate position in sanshin. Qigong practices are sometimes done with wider stances, and that's fine if you like that, but be careful about blending that into your martial arts practice. I personally prefer to stay with the outside of the feet, even with the outside of the shoulders width that we use in Uechi Karate, so that they're even more mutually supportive, but that's optional. So we start, much as we would do in the beginning of a kata, with bending the knees so that the pelvis goes level, and there's a sense of sitting and sinking the weight of your head and your torso into the pelvic bowl, and feeling that on the bottoms of the feet, and really finding out where that balance is and where you're most grounded. And then if you've ever done any Tai Chi, you'll recognize this kind of a movement where we're floating the arms up and then sinking the elbows. And so this is the primary standing position. We counter breaths, and typically with Qigong we're doing multiples of 9. So 9 or 18 or 27 or however long you want to do the practice. And after you've done that round of breaths, we shift, and I'm keeping my hips rolled under so everything stays as upright as I can make it. And that means that this leg is going to bend forward, and there's going to be a fair amount of pressure on that leg to support us. So be careful about straightening the back leg in order to have an easier support. It's exercise. You're going to feel it there. As you get stronger, it'll be less and less stressful, and you can stand for longer. But it's highly developmental. And the hands shifted from this front position this way, so that I'm shifting to my right, which would be your right as well. I'm not doing mirror image in this example. And the right hand is a little more extended. The left hand is pointing at the opposite wrist or the opposite palm. You can experiment, whichever you prefer. And I'm still looking straight. And again, we would hold that for that multiple of 9 breaths that we determined we're going to practice with. Notice that the other leg, the heel has come off the ground in order to keep the pelvis level. If I allow this to happen, then the hips are collapsing. So I need to keep this hip elevated, which will bring that heel up as I shift my weight over the supporting leg. And then after that cycle of breaths, we come back to the center. And then after that same cycle, we shift over to the other side, and all the same instructions apply. And then after that cycle is done, we shift back to the middle. And after that cycle is done, we float the hands palm up and then turn them over. And we swing the arms around behind us, putting the backs of the hands against the kidney adrenal area. And then we rock forward and back, moving the pelvis, rocking it forward and back. And the point here is to massage the bottoms of the feet. So if you're seeing your feet peel off this way, then the movement's not correct and you're not getting the benefit. So I'm coming here and I feel a shifting of pressure at the bottoms of my feet, and they actually feel like, kind of like suction cups. If you had a suction cup stuck to the floor and you really wanted to get it really stuck, you might move it around a little bit to get it really sealed and really pressurized. And it's kind of like that. So we do some cycle, some multiple of 3. 3, 6, or 9 would be more than enough. And then after that cycle, we would do the same number, shifting side to side. And we can allow the hips to be pretty free, which can be really useful if there's any tightness in there. But again, the point is to suction cup the feet. And if there's any of this kind of peeling off, then it's not correct. You're not getting the benefit. So after that cycle is done, then we do circles. So we're sort of combining the side to side and the front to back. We do circles, and again, the same thing, freeing up the hips and getting that suction cup feeling in the feet. We do that same cycle and then circles clockwise. After all that's done, if you have a belt, you might move that out of the way. We rub the palms together fast and hard and get them hot as many times as you like. And then for men, we're going to put the left hand down, right hand on top. For the women, it's the other way around. And it's palm on palm, definitely not fingers on fingers, palm on palm. And that goes right down this part of the body called the dantian in Chinese, or the hara in Japanese. And it's below your navel, just below the navel. And we apply a little bit of pressure there. And we're going to rub circles. So you're coming up the left side, down the right. And that's true for men and women, the same direction. And each one of these circles is getting bigger. Typically we do, again, cycles of 9. 18 is usually the minimum, but you could do more. 18 is a good one. Each circle getting bigger until you're just getting to just beyond the top ribs, or the bottom ribs I should say, sorry. And then after that cycle of say 18, you would stop down to dantian again and cycle the other way, each circle getting smaller and smaller until you've gotten back down to doing small circles right around that center of the body. And this whole time, the feet are staying suction cupped to the ground. And then you can give this a little tap to kind of wake yourself up, energize yourself. And that's a standing practice. Now, there's a lot packed in there, and it's meant to be a very quiet practice. So you're very still. And it's great for kids. Sometimes it's amazing to have a group of kids in a room and you can hear a pin drop and they're all being actually really still. But oftentimes you'll see them kind of twitching around and looking around and stuff. And in many ways it's precisely what's happened to the adults, except the adults are able to keep their bodies still, while meanwhile their minds are racing. So there's a need to relax our minds and just settle down and just be here and pay attention to the breath and feel the whole body and feel this connection to the ground. So from a quietening and meditative perspective, it's really a great practice. But what it brings to a meditation practice that a typical sitting practice emphasizes less is the postural integrity of the body. And it's very, very common for people who do standing practice to begin with, that they feel various aches and pains and discomforts. And a lot of that just goes away, and there's a strengthening that takes place for sure. But also an awareness. You might realize that you're sticking your chin out or something, and that, after a while of staying in the same place, you start to really notice it. And you might just kind of relax that and feel, that feels better. And just start to find an alignment. So there's a ton to unpack there, but maybe one clue to get us started. We could do a series of 20 videos on the standing. It's really a terrific practice. But maybe one thing just to get you started is just, where is the center of balance on our feet? Where is that connection? Where's the center of that suction cup? And it isn't in the heel, as is commonly thought in Western postural study. It's actually in a point of the foot called the bubbling spring, or kidney 1 in Chinese medicine. And that's right here in the center of the kind of the palm of the foot, right there. So that's your center of gravity, which means when you're standing there, the heel is touching for sure, the toes are making contact, but you can actually lift the heels without having to shift your body forward. So if my weight is back on my heels, then in order to lift my heels, I'm going to have to shift my body forward. I'm actually already there. I'm perfectly upright, hopefully, as upright as I can achieve right now, and I can lift those heels. And that's also true in your martial arts work. Your Sanchin, the heels are touching, but you can lift them without being, caught back on your heels, as they say. So that's a standing practice. Enjoy your work.